Hi everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. Welcome back. We have another amazing show for you this week. Some titles that I'm really excited to dig into from Era Video, Deaf Crocodile, Eureka. We have some movies fresh from theaters. Really excited to show off all of this for you. This is going to be more of a brief episode compared to my normal length because I know it is Thanksgiving week and a lot of people will be busy spending time with their families and everything, but I still want to make sure you get the latest in the world of physical media. So if you want any kind of deep dive into any of these titles, some of these will be covered in written form on geekvibesnation.com. But for now, I'll give you a broad overview, starting with one of the big titles from a studio this week from Warner Brothers. We have the 4K debut of The Conjuring for Last Rites. The Conjuring Last Rites. This made a huge debut at the box office a couple of months ago, and now we're getting the physical media release. I covered the 4K debut of the original Conjuring at the end of August when it debuted, and I really love that movie. But in coming to this final chapter of the Conjuring universe with Ed and Lorraine, I didn't quite like it as much. I think they tried to stuff a lot into this kind of final entry that this is well over 2 hours long and it feels it, and while it is very long, a lot of threads seem to be underdeveloped. The one thing that I can say this movie does really well is continue making Ed and Lorraine just a prime focus of this series and their love for one another and how they kind of approach these like demonic forces and stuff. It's what sells the franchise, and I really, really love their chemistry and their interactions on screen. But in this entry, the family that is being haunted isn't given as much of a presence as like the original Conjuring, and just there are some decent scares, but it feels a little bit stale compared to what like kind of the James Wan original iterations were. But there's still enough in here to find entertaining and give a few thrills and chills. It just isn't the strongest entry. I think people may find it a little bit more thrilling than the third entry, but it's not the best of the best. But if you do have a fondness for this franchise or just this movie in particular, you are treated to a really good 4K release from Warner Brothers in Dolby Vision with Dolby Atmos audio. Looks terrific in Dolby Vision. While these aren't the most colorful films, everything is precise. You got really deep black levels, no blown highlights. The Dolby Atmos is very effective in terms of like utilizing the overhead channels with this movie is especially effective and unsettling in many respects. Not much in the way of special features. There's like 3 featurettes, but if you do enjoy this series, the 4K from Warner Brothers, it's a good addition to your collection, especially if you're closing things out. I'm sure there'll be more entries in the Conjuring universe eventually, but for now, fair conclusion, just not the most thrilling that I've seen from the series. So The Conjuring 4 Last Rites, now available from Warner Brothers. Another movie fresh from theaters over at Searchlight Pictures. We have the Blu-ray release of The Roses. This is kind of a dark comedy that is a kind of based on the original War of the Roses movie that came out several decades ago. So for those who haven't seen that, this movie is about a couple. You follow them falling in love, starting a family, and just through circumstances, they slowly begin to kind of start pick at one another and slowly kind of start falling more out of love with one, or at least start connecting less with one another until it kind of eventually bubbles up into kind of a full-blown attacking each other, like trying to get out of the marriage type of thing. But this movie really focuses a lot more on their relationship and doesn't really get super messy until the end. But I really like the dynamics between Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch in this. There are some really touching moments. There's a lot of dry, biting moments between them. But they also show a lot of love for one another in the early goings of it. And it just shows how kind of things kind of fester and things pile on top of one another. And it just kind of slowly starts to erode their relationship. And there's a lot of insecurity. There's a lot of just taking each other for granted, all that kind of stuff. And it can make for kind of a tense comedic viewing experience. There's a lot to laugh at here, but it can be very uncomfortable at times. So if kind of watching a couple fight and say nasty things to one another, it just kind of makes you very like too uncomfortable. This may not be the movie for you, but there are a lot of things that made me laugh out loud, particularly the ensemble cast. Like Kate McKinnon is the MVP. Andy Samberg's a great addition as well. A lot of great supporting performers in here. Allison Janney has like one or two scenes, and she does a really good job in that as well. But it is a very dark sense of humor throughout this, and very surprising conclusion to this movie as well. But if you like these performers and you're not averse to being a little bit uncomfortable, The Roses, it is an entertaining viewing experience. It can just be also very uncomfortable, so just keep that in mind. But overall, I did enjoy it. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but I enjoyed these two together, and yeah, it's a decent watch. The Blu-ray is great from Searchlight Pictures. I don't think this was big enough to ever get a 4K, but on Blu-ray it looks nice. Bold colors. There's a lot of like coastal location shooting on this one, so there's a lot of beautiful architecture, coasts, all kinds of stuff going on here. And it looks really nice on Blu-ray. DTS 5.1 sounds really good. You get a couple of featurettes and bloopers and all kinds of stuff to round out the special features. So decent or really good Blu-ray release for a decent movie. So if you're interested in The Roses, this Blu-ray from Searchlight Pictures, it'll do the trick. Heading over more to our boutique releases, which is where I like to live a little bit more. We are heading to Deaf Crocodile and a re-release of their 2023 release of Heroic Times. This is a movie that I have covered on this channel in the past, so I'm not going to go too deeply into the narrative, but it is kind of a medieval, like knights and kings and fighting, and all with this really gorgeous like kind of oil painting, watercolor type painting, 2D animation mixture that looks fantastic. And it's just a really visually arresting film that it's just like rewatching it for this. It's just such a striking movie that it makes you just kind of wonder why modern animation, especially on the studio level, but even a lot of the indie studios, they're not as kind of bold and ambitious as some of these kind of international titles used to be. So just watching just how animation is utilized in this this form is astounding, and I really like this movie. Like I said, I enjoyed revisiting it, but for the big thing for this particular re-release is this exclusive slipcover. Not available in like huge quantities, but this is kind of Deaf Crocodile transitioning from their, this was originally released in 2023 under their Vinegar Syndrome partnership and Ocean Distribution. And now that they've started releasing things themselves, they're reprinting this title, and they're giving this the new Skinobo cases, and they're just giving people who want things to be a little bit more uniform and also have brand new artwork, such as this one, a chance to add that to their collection and just make things a little bit more visually appealing and conform across the series. So really glad to have this new release from Deaf Crocodile. If you don't have the film yet, this is the perfect way to own it. But even if you miss out on the slipcover, if you're not a slipcover fan, make sure you get this reprint of the Heroic Times, because it's such a great movie. Whether you have a slipcover or not, you want the movie in your collection. If you're an animation fan, it's a stunning release. It's really accessible and like really entertaining for anyone who kind of likes like medieval like clashes and stuff. It's just done in a really visually striking way. This Blu-ray release looks stunning. It's the same disc as before, but for those who did not hear about this originally, this got a 2K or a 4K restoration from the NFI in Hungary, with additional restoration cleanup from Craig Rogers at Deaf Crocodile. This is a knockout release visually, restored mono track as well. There's some really good special features, including a commentary track, 3 short films that are really cool, and 2 pretty lengthy interviews. One's about 50 minutes long. So stacked with special features that you won't want to miss. Audio-visual presentation is out of this world, and now you have a new package with this slipcover that is available directly at deafcrocodile.com, and I believe there's there also a small allocation to Diabolic DVD. So make sure to check out one of those locations while supplies last, before you miss out on this really cool slipcover from Deaf Crocodile. One very cool release from them. I love all their releases, and everything they put out, just add it to your shelf. You won't be disappointed. So Deaf Crocodile's release of Heroic Times, really good, and make sure to add it to your collection. I am a huge documentary fan, so I'm excited to go down a multiple releases in that world, starting with Music Box Films' Blu-ray release of Secret Mall Apartment, which is about as straightforward as you could hope for from a title. This is about a group of artists in the 90s into the early 2000s who decided to kind of make a statement and try to make a living space within within a mall, in a space that kind of wasn't being used by the mall. And it just shows their kind of journey to like their first attempt at like finding this location, and then slowly adding like furniture and lights and decorating. And it's not you learn from this documentary that it wasn't just for the heck of it, like, can we do this and stuff. They did have a little bit more on their mind in terms of like they're artists, and they were trying to, this was at a time where this mall was being built and really pushing out artists out of the surrounding communities, and really kind of look at consumerism and how corporations kind of subjugate kind of the communities in favor of like capitalism, and just like these big monstrosities that kind of just are, some people consider, an eyesore. They just take up so much of the natural spirit of a community, and how these kind of artists kind of wanted to make their own statement about kind of utilizing spaces. And there's a lot of interesting kind of ideas in here that I really was drawn to, and very entertaining documentary. I had never seen this one before. It's pretty new, and it was completely my jam. This Blu-ray, it's a mixture of archival footage and newer interviews, and everything on Blu-ray looks as good as the source will allow. The archival footage is understandably a little rough looking at times, like with the news footage and kind of like the footage that they filmed within the apartment. But then the newer interviews are crystal clear, so everything looks as good as it can look on Blu-ray. And I think that is certainly, like, there are major benefits to watching this in HD. Sound is great as well. Some good special features to round this out, including a Q&A, a documentary, deleted scenes, various featurettes. This is loaded with extra material. So big bang for your buck from Music Box Films. Secret Mall Apartment. If you're a documentary fan, definitely worth checking out. If you like quirky subjects, Secret Mall Apartment from Music Box Films, definitely worth checking out. I thought this next title would be a good transition from the previous title, because we're still dealing in the world of artists with Meredith Monk and the Blu-ray release of Monk in Pieces from Zeitgeist Films and Kino Lorber. Now, for those who don't know, and it would be probably a lot of people, Meredith Monk was an avant-garde artist from like the 70s till now. And mainly what this doc attempts to show is that she was a very important figure in this kind of New York space and part of their history that has been overlooked for decades and never really got the proper praise that she deserves. And through this, you get like interviews with her, you get to learn about her, you get to hear from her, some of her contemporaries, most notably like David Byrne from the Talking Heads. You get people like Philip Glass. You got to get a nice assortment of talking head interviews, but this movie doesn't overly rely on that. It relies a lot on archival footage to kind of put her story into context, and it kind of sprinkles in these talking head interviews enough to give context, but doesn't overwhelm kind of the natural artistic inclination of this documentary. And I think that it aims to be as interesting as its subject, and I think it mostly accomplishes that. As someone who had not heard of Monk previously, I think this did a really good job of like kind of showing me who she is, why she is important, and kind of what a travesty it's kind of been that she has been so overlooked for so many years. So I love documentaries like this. Brought me to a person that I'd never seen before, and now I feel very close to her. And this Blu-ray release looks really nice, similar to the last one. A mixture of newer and archival footage. Everything looks as strong as possible. Sounds as good as well. Tons of additional footage and performances from Meredith Monk on this Blu-ray. There's probably about like 15 or so performances from way back in the day to just this year that are on this, and provides quite a bit of extra footage and bang for your buck for people who are interested in Meredith. So make sure to check that out. Monk in Pieces from Zeitgeist Films and Kino Lorber, very much being on your radar. And then another more recognizable artist, but similarly a little bit kind of misunderstood at points. This is from Draft House Films and NVD Entertainment. It is Thank You Very Much, a documentary about Andy Kaufman, who was an avant-garde in his own way. He pushed the comedic boundaries and really just kind of did his own thing, whether or not people would respond to it or not or understand it. He just kind of marched to the beat of his own drum. And there's been movies about Andy, like Man on the Moon. There's been documentaries about him. But from what I've seen, Thank You Very Much, I think, does the best job of really getting kind of to know what was inside Andy's head, while still understanding that no one, I don't think, will ever really know 100% what was in Andy's head. But this is a good mixture of archival footage and newer interviews. People like Danny DeVito, who worked with him all the way back from Taxi. They give us some context to him, but it's the footage itself that does a lot of the talking, and I think for that reason, letting Andy, in large part, tell his own story, I think is the right way to go about things. There may be some interpretations that you try to take away from this that maybe not be completely correct, but I think it's interesting to kind of ponder what Andy was doing at this time and what kind of his life was. And it's just a really entertaining documentary. So everything looks about as good as it can look. It's really nice looking. Sounds good as well. You get some special features, including 20 minutes of extra footage and some trailers. But yeah, if you're an Andy Kaufman fan, make sure to check out Thank You Very Much. I think it's well worth your time. And going over to the world of Hong Kong cinema, we got from Eureka, we got a Sammo Hung triple threat, 3 films with Sammo Hung. We got The Manchu Boxer, Paper Marriage, and Shanghai, Shanghai. And then you can see the artwork underneath. This one's for Paper Marriage, where she stars with besides Maggie Cheung. And I think that one probably is my favorite of the 3. It also is the one where Sammo gets the biggest spotlight. But I like all 3 of these films. The Manchu Boxer is kind of more so straightforward, like a hero versus like a nefarious adversary played by Hung type thing, like boxing movie. Paper Marriage is more of like kind of an action rom-com in which Sammo has to kind of pose as the husband of a woman who's trying to get a green card, and then kind of things kind of escalate from there. He's a boxer and there's crime elements and stuff. And then Shanghai is another kind of criminal oriented, in which Sammo Hung once again plays like more on the evil side of the spectrum. And is not the kind of protagonist. So on the first disc, you have Manchu Boxer and Paper Marriage. Third disc here, or the second disc here, you have Shanghai, Shanghai. And then exclusive to this first printing of this, you get a third disc with some alternate cuts of some of the movies. So you get the extended international cuts of both Manchu Boxer and Shanghai, Shanghai on this third disc. So if you wait for future pressings, you will not get the extended international cuts of these. But if you're a Sammo Hung fan, this set is easily recommended. There's some very entertaining movies on here. There's very different versions of Sammo Hung in this, and so you get a nice balance between more dramatic kind of violent work, you get more like comedic kind of like lighthearted work, and just like different time periods and everything. It's a really nice selection of films, and while he is not the main player in all of them, he definitely leaves an impression and is very much worthy of having all these 3 films gathered together. Really good collection from Eureka. So you get 2K restorations of the theatrical Hong Kong cuts of each of these 3 films. Each has an English dub available with them. Each film gets a commentary track. You get some interviews, and then the extended international versions of the that I had mentioned as well. All these films look pretty good. I didn't notice any major like deficiencies, damages. Get nice textures on the clothing and production design. The colors look nice. Everything looks really good. And I don't think Eureka really could have done better for this one. I think if you're a Hong Kong action film fan, this triple threat from Sammo Hung and Eureka, must have for your collection. It's a lot of fun and very much worth checking out if you're a fan of Hong Kong cinema. Now, if you're a fan of Hong Kong cinema, stick with me because the biggest set of on this week's show is pretty mighty. I'm not going to go too much into each individual title, but it's the hotly anticipated Volume 4 of Shawscope from Arrow Video. So here you get 16 films new to Blu-ray in the US. So that's the kind of J card here. So these Shawscope sets from Arrow Video have been one of their like crown jewels of their release schedule in recent years. They've done such a good job, and this one, if you have found yourself kind of collecting Hong Kong cinema over the last few years, because it's been a golden age in that regard, you may or may not have kind of gotten a little bit of fatigue with like kind of your standard kind of martial arts, wushu type stuff. This set is for you if you want a little something weird. This gets more in your kind of horror, supernatural, fantasy, bizarro side of the spectrum. There's some really crazy stuff in here. And I think for the sickos among us, that this is a good selection of movies for those who want a little something different from their Hong Kong cinema. Because while I love some good martial arts content, I also love to be kind of surprised and dazzled and shocked. So Volume 4 of Shawscope is definitely for the sickos. So I'll kind of show all these off as much easily as possible. So disc 1, you have Super Inframan. Kind of show that off here. Disc 2, you have a twofer of the Oily Maniac and Battle Wizard. So you could get a little bit of that here. So you have 9 films, or 9 discs for these 16 films. So now you have Black Magic and Black Magic Part 2 here on the 3rd disc. So disc 4, we have Hex and Bewitched here. I love the artwork on these sets. Some of the posters are really incredible. Now we continue with the Hex series with Hex versus Witchcraft and Hex After Hex. Show that off here. Disc 6 is Bat Without Wings and Bloody Parrot. And disc 7 is The Fate Ghost Catchers and Demon of the Loot. I mean, you can tell from the artwork how bizarre these films are compared to previous sets. Disc 8, we have Seeding of a Ghost and Portrait in Crystal. And the final movie disc is for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. We got that. And just to show off, like, these, like, you can see a little bit of the like details here, but each of these doesn't have all the special features listed here. It's usually just telling like what the source of things were and kind of the audio tracks and that kind of stuff. But not every single special feature is listed here. But the fifth or the last disc, the disc 10, is just bonus features that you can see here. Kind of see all those together. But yeah, these movies are wild. They're a lot of fun. Each film has been given new 2K restorations from the original camera negative. These if you've seen the previous Shawscope sets from Arrow, you know how much they care about these titles and how much work is put into every single title, and everything looks really great, and everything is completed to its like most complete form as the material will allow. Like such as in Bewitched, in the case of Bewitched, it mentions in the transfer section of the booklet that particular title had some censorship whenever it was originally released, and there was attempts to that was taken out of the negative, and there was attempts to restore that in 2007 whenever it was released, I believe on DVD, and those were restored by Celestial Pictures. And at that time, they couldn't find the original negative, and they still can't find that. So to make sure that this is as uncut as possible, the original camera negative was used for Bewitched, but there are sections that had to be used from that 2007 master, and kind of inserted in to make sure that you can have the most complete version of this film, even if it's not all from the original camera negative. But they blend things pretty well, but you might notice minor variances. But just knowing that they've taken the care to try to make things look as good as possible, you can kind of forgive a little bit of minor variation on a couple of titles. But in by and large, these 2K restorations from the original camera negative look really, really nice. You get a plethora of different language options between like Mandarin, Cantonese, different stuff. You get different certain movies have like alternate like in credits like for like international release and stuff. Stuff like that. But then you get more substantial features, 11 of the 16 films get new commentary tracks. You get various interviews, you get appreciation pieces, you get video essays, you get tons of stuff here. One really cool thing that I may have not seen while I was showing off the booklet, like there are sections where some of these where it shows like further viewing, where it'll like say if you like this movie, maybe check out this other movie in this set or in this collection, to kind of like help guide you along this Shaw Brothers journey. I think that's really cool, and it just kind of shows that it very much has the fans in mind for this release. So you get with this set 16 films that look really, really great, tons of special features, gorgeous packaging. It's really just everything a Shaw Brothers fan could want. There have been other labels that I love that have been putting out so much Shaw Brothers content. But Era Video, their curation, their love put into the packaging and distribution. Shawscope sets are some of the best of the year. And so if you're a fan of Shaw Brothers, this is an undeniable set, especially since it gives you some of the weirder aspects of Shaw Brothers that we haven't gotten a lot in other releases. So I just appreciate that a lot. So Shawscope, Volume 4, Essential Release, one of the best releases of the year by far. And finally, closing on Arrow is another long-awaited title for Giallo fans. We have the 4K release of The House with Laughing Windows. Now, this movie has been teased for quite a while, and we are finally getting it on disc. It's a major Giallo title about a painter who goes to a small town to restore this legendary artist's painting, who has been dead for a while, and he's like coming to restore some of his art. This is the reversible cover art here. And whenever he gets to the town and starts kind of getting enmeshed in kind of the comings and goings, weird violent things start happening, and certain people start getting killed, and he kind of starts to wonder, is this artist who is very controversial because he would get people and kind of torture them and paint their last remaining moments. So it was a very kind of like murder art project that was crazy. So there's kind of questions about whether this artist is actually dead, and who is, if not, or if he is, who is like committing these murders around the town, and what exactly is what secrets this town holds, and who's in on it, and all that kind of stuff. And he meets a young lady who's very lovely that he kind of starts to get close with, and just a lot. There's a lot going on here. But I really thought it was a good Giallo film. The ending is quite wild and memorable, but it's very brutal, but very entertaining. And I can understand now why I've seen so many people hyping up this release for a while. Very much worth the wait. This has been given a 4K restoration from the original camera negative in HDR10. There's no Dolby Vision on this one, but the HDR10 looks nice. This has a color grade that has been done by Arrow Video. I know there have been releases from overseas that people have seen that I have not seen myself in person, that has a color grade that looks a little bit kind of yellowish. and just kind of a little bit unnatural. This has more, dials that back. It has a much more natural looking presentation on the Arrow release that looks really nice in Dolby or in HDR10 in 4K. Not much at all in the way of any kind of lingering damage. Everything's been treated very well. This is not the most colorful film, but all the locales with like the green of the shrubs and like the natural locations, they look nice. Original Italian audio sounds really good as well. No major like pops or anything like that. You get 2 commentary tracks. You get a documentary, a feature-length documentary. You get visual essays. Loaded release for this Giallo favorite. So people who have been waiting for this to be treated well, The House with Laughing Windows on 4K, definitely worth the wait. Good release from Arrow Video coming out next month, and very much going to be a highlight of many Giallo fans' years. So check out The House with Laughing Windows when it releases next month from Arrow Video. And that is my slate. Like I said, I tried to keep it a little bit more concise than normal. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving week. I hope everyone relaxes, watch some great physical media. Thanks for those who tune in. If you enjoyed what you saw, let me know in the comments what you're most interested to check out. Share this with anyone that loves physical media or you think want to get into physical media. Make sure to like this video, and just all your support means the world to me. I really, really appreciate this. I will be back again next week with a new batch of titles. But until next time, enjoy these movies.